deconverted man here. Why you can't convert me? People want me to believe in God, just in general. Like their God specifically, probably, but just the fact that I don't believe in God, like, seems to bother, like, really bother some people. And so it would be a slightly better place if only I believed in God. In fact, the more people that believe in God, the better it is. But that's not really how things work. Believing in a God isn't a guarantee that you're going to become a better person. In fact, many people that believe in God are not very good people. I think of interacting with someone like Jill, for example, this guy that's been known to frequent atheists hangouts and whatnot. He's just like a troll. Like it doesn't seem like he cares if anyone's converted. He just wants to be right. He doesn't want to learn anything. He wants to just own people. And so there's this combative nature that he has. And there's others that I've interacted with that seem more interested in poning the atheist than in discussing things or understanding viewpoints. And there's some that do care and want to understand, but it's like, but the arguments. I remember talking to the pastor way back when, but all these arguments aren't good enough? No, they're not. Even if I granted all of these arguments that you have, they're still not enough. The argument will not succeed in getting a conversion because that's not what the skeptic or the atheist is looking for, broadly speaking. Now, I can only go based on who I've encountered in my memory of those encounters, but atheists and skeptics that I've interacted with tend to want evidence, not an argument, evidence, actual concrete evidence, not things that you think are evidence, but actual evidence, not that points to the thing, but of the thing itself. Empirical, testable evidence. And this is the thing that religions do not have. Period. End of story. That's the reality of the situation is there isn't empirical evidence of the God. There is no test that you can have of the God. And it doesn't matter what religion you look at, it's true across the board. The God is a object of the mind. It's something that humans came up with. If it's anything more than that, it's so well hidden that for the atheist and skeptic, it might as well not be. So I'm saying, hey, look, I can't believe in God because it's not providing the sort of evidence that everything else in the world provides. Therefore, if it did, then I could believe in it. I'd have a chance to believe in it. You know, you're told, look around, look at the trees, look at the tree. How many times we've heard that, right? That's not going to convince. That convinces me the tree exists. Why not look at the God? But the God is invisible and intangible and abstract and can only be argued for. And usually, in fact, every argument that I've seen contains one or more logical or structural fallacies or both. And you try to point those out to people and they will not accept them. They will not. The apologists cannot accept that even one argument has any flaws to it. They insist that these arguments are fine. They don't want to admit that the argument's flawed, try to make a new argument, try to come up with something original. But we don't want arguments. As I'm saying, forget the arguments. You don't have the evidence. That's what the problem is. Oh, but this, no, that's an argument again. Oh, but what about this? No, that's another argument. Just give me the evidence. Oh, well, but there's evidence everywhere. No, there isn't. So, if we posited a world that was identical to ours with the exception that God was visible and tangible and you could interact with God and everybody was born into this world and they knew that there was a God without a doubt because you could see it. Maybe it was just something you know, it's just always there. You could see it, you could talk to it, you could interact with it. There would be a few individuals that had ideas about that God that were strange. They would think that that God was some sort of government conspiracy or, you know, some sort of trickery or whatever. And those people would be in the very, very, very minority of people. There might even be a group of people that said no. I'm gonna, you know, it'd be very hard to object to the fact that you could see it, hear it, touch it, and talk to it. But maybe there'd be a handful of people that were like that. But in that world, I would believe in God. I would have a choice to. I would see it. I'd be able to talk to it. I would know what it was like. And then I could decide whether or not I wanted to have anything to do with it. I could make an actual decision on if I wanted a relationship with this thing or not. And I could make a decision on whether or not I wanted to worship it or follow its ideas or advice or whatever. And that's not the world that we have. So, because of that, you cannot convert me. You can say, well, but God gave you that thousands of years ago in Jesus or Muhammad or in whatever. I know Muhammad wasn't supposed to be God, but whatever. It doesn't matter. No, that's not good enough. I wasn't there. He needs to do it now, right now. And then you're set, and then you have the rejoinder of, well, the sinful people ask for a sign. It's like, oh my goodness, wow. So it's just ways to keep the the falsifiability unfalsifiable. That protections against it being not true. It's a meme. It exists in the mind. If it exists more than that, the only way to think that that's the case is to have faith, to just believe that it's real. And it's so weird because, like, even the Bible's like, hey, yeah, faith is good. Have faith. So it's like, well, then you can't have anything that's evidence because you wouldn't be able to have faith then. Oh, well, faith means something else. And then you have that whole argument. It's like, why call it faith if you have evidence? And why would you have that word then? Why wouldn't you use some other word? It's incoherent. You cannot convert me because you do not have the thing that I want, which is empirical evidence of the thing. Testable way of the thing. Some way I could test the thing itself. You know, these arguments, they're not going to work. I'm going to keep pointing out how bad they are because that's what I do, but they're not going to convert me ever. They're not going to convert. I don't know. I don't want to give percentage, but I would say most of the people I've interacted with aren't going to be convinced by these broken arguments, especially if they understand logic, which is why it's important we understand logic. I was in this whole conversation. This person didn't understand what valid was and and they kept mixing it up with soundness and getting part of what valid was sort of correct, and it was a mess. I said, look, the argument is formally flawed. You have a claim about everything in the first premise, but we don't know about everything. We only know about the observed things. And they're like, oh, but that's fine because we when we say everything, we don't really mean everything. What are you talking about? Yes, that's not how language works. I think that part of our thing as humans is we want to have people in our group. There's been a couple of videos out there talking about the so-called atheist community and how it needs to change, and people are doing stuff that's making people not like it, or and people are quitting YouTube. I'm like, I don't know what the bleep anyone's talking about. Who's doing what? Where? What is this? Be specific. Like, you know, it's just having this vague thing. Like, there's, you know, what are you talking about? But I'm not part of that. I'm not. I'm just my own thing. I'm sitting over here. I'm a skeptic. Um, the people I interact with are people I interact with. I don't know if we're a community. I don't know that I would call it that. But we want to be part of a group. So the theist wants you to be part of their group. That's why they want you to believe in God. It really bothers them that you're not part of their group. And I think it also makes them confront their own belief, and that causes an emotional discomfort because it's like, well, you don't believe it. Maybe I don't need to believe it, or maybe I can stop believing it. Nah, I'm not comfortable. And that causes cognitive dissonance, and they don't like it, right? So they, But you can't convert me because you don't have the thing that I need. It's that simple. Your arguments are broken because they don't have the thing that I need either. And I don't think that it's possible that you can make a valid and sound argument without having evidence of the thing itself, which you don't have. And that might be why all the arguments are broken. Just something to consider. But apologists are going to keep doing the same old arguments no matter what. And I guess atheists and skeptics have to keep trying to rebuttal them in various different ways, shapes, and forms. That's just the way it goes. Until next time. That's it. Just until next time. Be skeptical. Lobster.